Definitely give feedback. In the early days, I used to because it was a husband and wife team. Yeah, that was their last place. What a powerhouse! But I used to argue with them during coffee hour after the sermon. I didn't really offer feedback. It was more like, now wait a minute.
No, but I think it's.
But the fact that I could do that. And they put up with me.
No, but I think, I think that's so important because, like, you put something out there.
Yeah.
You just put it out.
Yeah.
Your perspective based on your research, your experience, that fire, right? But.
Well, in the early days, when Bob and Connor went there, the worship associates either had to get a guest speaker or do the sermon on Sundays. Yeah, mine used to be mostly electric.
And so it's more of, yes, incorporate knowledge and understanding, incorporate some of the theology, and you invite people into some kind of reflection, into action, which I think makes it meaningful is to get out of the and it's been an evolution for our because not everyone, for many for a long time, was had a strong I just want to say this pulpit's not mine. Like that's always
I love the fact that we always talk about
it is.
it changes based not on the music, but the dynamic of the congregation. Yeah, I remember one of the best things I learned in that course was go from me to we. You gotta make it to where it's accessible. And then the other thing, we talk about this in worship process. You always have to remember, first of all, there's no but even people who come every Sunday with smiles on their faces, even if you're talking about
Yeah, and I think that there's someone in that sanctuary.
I'm gonna light the tea light.
And life is all of that.
Yeah.
I might do it again.
These tea lights put out tons of flame. I think Claudia had mentioned maybe getting some different kinds of tea lights or something because it wouldn't stay lit. But 2 Sundays ago,
Get some of those bigger, just have it on.
yeah,
There, and that last whatever you want, because I'm never that's not
yeah, I don't need this space.
nice if I turn on my
Buenos días.
Buenos dias.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Bienvenidos a la Congregación Unitariana Universalista de Asheville. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Congregation of Asheville. Feligres o visitante, congregant or visitor. Queremos que sepan, we want you to know, que quien quiera que seas, whoever you are, a quien quiera que ames, whoever you love, venga de donde venga, come from wherever you join us. Esté donde esté en el camino de saber quién eres, wherever you are on the journey of knowing yourself, usted está bienvenida aquí. You are welcome here. I'm Reverend Claudia Jiménez, and I serve this congregation as Minister of Faith Development. And this morning, our theme, as our month of November is a month of Thanksgiving, our theme is generosity. And we will be exploring the idea of theological generosity. However, I would be remiss if I didn't recognize the generosity of this congregation, of many of you here today, this month when we had the installation of our lead minister, and a team helped make that happen. And last night we had our auction, and the same team made that happen, and it was fun, and it was generous, and there was community building that happened. And it's all because of the generosity of this congregation, the generosity of your presence, your time, and your gifts. So I just want to take a moment to say thank you. Muchas gracias por su generosidad. And if you are on that planning committee, could you just rise for a moment so we could thank you? Planning committee for installation, planning committee for auction. And I got a little message, because ministers get little notes before the service starts. And this one says that there was a keys for a Subaru were found at the auction last night. So if anyone had to hitch a ride, Ann McClellan knows where the keys are. Where's Ann McClellan? There she is. Okay. Thank you, Ann, for that. So if you are visiting online, bienvenido. Let us know where you are visiting from by texting that, placing that in the chat. If you are here in person, again, welcome. We are grateful for our worship team. Jack Runnels is our worship associate. We have Sue Richards, our guest musician on the harp, our music director, Les Downs, and Jess Fox today is doing AV. Thank you all, because this service is really a team effort, and this space would not be made sacred without your presence. So thank you for being here. Now let us prepare for this time of worship with the gift of our centering music. Sue. Got some enthusiasm in the house today. So every Sunday when we gather, we light the chalice, which is a symbol of our Unitarian Universalist faith. This morning, our reading is written by Louis Van Leer, and our chalice lighter is Levi Somerville. Thank you, Levi.
We light this chalice not because we must, but because we may.
We light this chalice not because we have the truth, but because we each come bearing and seeking many truths.
We light this chalice in connection across culture, distance, class, and language.
We light this chalice that our religion may be a beacon of light, hope, and justice.
We light this chalice to kindle our hearts and our minds.
And this morning, we light this candle for peace. Yesterday was the anniversary of the armistice, and as we gather today, we know that there are many people involved in conflict and dealing with grief and with violence. So let us just take a moment, and as we light the chalice of our faith, light this chalice, this other candle for peace. And now let us rise in body or spirit and sing together.
We're going to sing Where Do We Come From? So we're going to review each part. We'll sing each of the three parts 2 times, and then I'll give you a new instruction. Okay, so now choose your part. I'm not assigning, you choose the part, but I want to hear all the parts. So this is what we're going to do. We're going to start with the first part. We're going to sing 2 times through the first part. Then we're going to add this up. Keep the words up, Jess. Then we're going to add the second part and sing 2 more times. Then we're going to add the third part. And I'm going to do this, which means keep singing, keep singing, keep singing, keep singing. And then at a certain point, I will cut you off. All right, here we go. First part, here we go. Ready, sing.
Where do we come from? What are we? Where are we going? Where do we come from? What are we? Where are we going? Where do we come from? What are we? Where are we going? Where do we come from? I knew you could do that. So this morning I have a wisdom story that comes from our Universalist tradition, and it's entitled Muddy Children. What do you think that's going to be about? What do you think this story is going to be about? Hey, y'all, we're going to listen to the story, and it's about muddy children. What do you think that means? Have you ever played in the mud? Anybody ever played in the mud? Any adults ever played in the mud? All right. So our story is about a little boy named Hosea, and he lived on a farm. And he was very curious. How many of you are curious? It's a you trait, right? So he was curious, always asking questions, and he liked to play. Do you guys like to play? What do you like to play? What do you like to play?
I like to play magic.
You like to play
Marble run,
any kind of like magnet game? Okay, what do you like to play?
snake and ladders.
Snakes and ladders. Do any of the adults like to play? What do you like to play?
Rummy cube.
Rummy cube. All right. So it's not just the little people that play. So Hosea, he liked to play hide and seek. He liked to play tag. Do any of you play tag? Some of us do. But most of all, when it rained, what do you think he liked to do, given the title of our story? He played with what? With mud. He liked to jump in puddles. He liked to make the water splash. And his little siblings were around him when he did that. And guess what happened to them? They got wet and they got muddy. And yes, we know he loved the mud. He had older sisters, and what do you think their responsibility was as the older sisters when he got all muddy? What do you think they did? Do you think he stayed muddy all day? Yeah, they told the mom. In this case, they actually told the dad. And the dad went up to Hosea very seriously and said to him, Hosea, you should not play in the mud. And we know Hosea was curious. So he said, why? It's so much fun, Dad. Because, said his father, who was one of the ministers in the Baptist church the family went to, just as we try to live a good life, to be kind to other people, and to follow God's plan, we try to stay clean. So Hosea looked at his father and said, yes, Father, I will try. And he did, for a while, stay clean. But it wasn't easy because he lived on a farm. Why would living on a farm make it hard for Hosea to stay clean? Do you know? Lots of mud, lots of dirt. And so, when he had to walk through the mud to get across the yard, to gather the eggs, to feed the pigs, what would happen as he walked?
He would get dirty.
He would get dirty, and he figured, oh, well, I'm already muddy. Let me play a little bit. And so guess what his sisters did? Again, they said to their father, Dad, Hosea keeps coming home all muddy. And so his dad said, Hosea, sweetie, you must not play in the mud. Yes, Father, Hosea said. And he was sad because, he really did try not to get muddy most of the time. And so he said to his dad, are you very angry with me, Dad? And he hung his head and kicked a little bit of the dirt with his toes. And his father said, I am disappointed. and a little angry too. And Hosea looked at him and he said, "Do you still love me?" "Hosea," said his father, not so serious anymore, "I will always love you, no matter what you do. Even if I get muddy again?" And what do you think his dad said?
Even if I get muddy again,
And he said, his father said,
that I will always love
yes, thank you. He said yes, even then. And then he got serious and said, "But remember, Hosea, you must try." "I'll remember and I'll try," Hosea promised. And he did, most of the time anyway. As he grew up, he stopped liking mud so much, but he still liked to ask questions. And that is our wisdom story this morning. And I wonder what your favorite part of the story was. Any favorite parts of the story?
when he got all muddy.
When he got all muddy. Any other favorite parts of the story? I will always love you. And as we sing our children to their classes this morning, I also invite you to think what the most important part and what the message is behind this story. So, we are going to sing our children to their classes. If you are visiting, you are free to join your child as they go to Sandberg Hall to meet their teachers and find out where you can pick up your child. And our custom is to sing our children out with the song As You Go. So let us sing our children to their classes. Look around the room. Half of our congregation walked out to continue their faith development. And now those of us who remain have an opportunity to engage in our faith development. And part of the work, part of the practice of faith development is making time for the spiritual practice of reflection or meditation. So this is the time in our service where we just take a moment to listen to a prayer or a poem, followed by our ritual of the rocks and the stones. And yes, we are grateful for that beautiful baby that is going to need to go outside, and that's okay. You know, our children are here, and that's part of our intergenerational community. And it reminds us that this community lives on as we nurture our young people and welcome them into this sanctuary, which is a sanctuary for all of us. So, let us take some time to ground our bodies, feel the earth underneath our feet, close our eyes or lower our gaze. Take a few deep breaths. And let us listen to to the words of Reverend Sarah Lawal in a prayer. Spirit of love and life, we are called together by love. A love deep enough to hold our joys and sorrows, our pain and loss, our doubts and fears. A love strong enough to steady us in the thresholds of life, awaiting the next blessing. May we find the courage to persevere in the storm, to see the holy and the broken, to stay present to life. When the pull to disappear takes hold with all its harsh realities, may we conjure up that fierce love to bring our hopeful vision into being, discovering the humanity, bravery, goodness still calling us forth. May we breathe into that story and make it come alive. May we be vessels of comfort and compassion. May we be vessels of peace and justice. May we be vessels of hope and healing. May love prevail in the name of all that is holy. Amen. Let us share a moment of silence. And now we prepare for our ritual of the rocks and the water. And we add to our water salt to represent the grief and the sorrow that we carry in our hearts. And we also have petals and flowers to represent the beauty and the joy and the celebration that often happens alongside that which brings us sorrow. So now, if you are home, I invite you to, in the chat, share any joy or sorrow that you have at home and is felt by this community. And if you are present, I invite you to come forward and place a stone in the water for any joy or sorrow that you bring in your heart this morning. Let our ritual begin. If you shared a stone for a joy in your life, know that this community rejoices with you. If you shared a stone for a sorrow or for grief, know that you are held in care. And now Jack will add additional stones for those joys and sorrows not shared, for those joys and sorrows held at home. May we always know that even if we are not together, this community is whole and it is one. Thank you.
What is Unitarian Universalism? Have you ever been asked this question and then sort of frozen up a bit as you try to think about how to explain it in 5 minutes or less? My answer used to be, we're a group of spiritual seekers, all theologically different, who come together to learn from each other and support each other on our journeys. Is that accurate? Yeah, I think it's accurate. Is it inspiring? Maybe not so much. But in the last 20 years of being a Unitarian Universalist, I've realized that the answer is much simpler. It's love. We are the faith that's all about love. Love of learning, love of community, love of life, love for the interconnectedness of it all, love for the messy oneness of it all. A few years ago, I was looking at the night sky and thinking about the Big Bang, and I wondered, why did it happen when it happened? And what caused it? Something inside me said it was an act of love. My scientific rational brain immediately rejected that, but I just couldn't stop thinking it. And I have no proof for it. I can't explain why I think that, but I know I feel better. I do better when I act as if all of this is the result of an act of love. And that is why I love Unitarian Universalism. It's all about love. Are you just learning to love yourself? This is the faith for you. Do you want a greater connection, a more loving relationship to other humans, to other beings, to life itself? This is the faith for you. And we live our faith when we share our faith. As some have said, we need not think alike to love alike. I would say that we don't even need to exactly love alike, but we do need to be loved and to have opportunities to express our love. Love allows us to flourish as individuals and brings about collective liberation from dismantling systems of oppression. Love is the core of our faith, and that is a message worth sharing.
our foundational documents, there is a proposal to include a list of the values that characterize our faith. The proposed language includes generosity, and it states, "We cultivate a spirit of gratitude and hope. We covenant to freely and compassionately share our faith, presence, and resources. Our generosity connects us to one another in relationships of interdependence and mutuality." Now, we often talk about generosity in terms of sharing our time, our talent, and our treasure. But this morning, I invite you to consider what it means to you when you hear that generosity is to freely and compassionately share our faith and presence. What does that mean? What came to my mind was theological generosity, sharing the good news of Unitarian Universalism, because it has touched my life, it has touched our lives, and engages us in contributing to positive change in the world. I think that the good news lies in a faith that is non-creedal, covenantal, and that supports spiritual deepening and collective liberation. And by collective liberation, I mean thriving and fulfillment for everyone. I think of theological generosity as sharing the surprising evolution of a faith that does not demand belief in a particular creed, and instead emphasizes our desire and responsibility to effect positive change in the world. The bravery and generosity of our ancestors who said, "Wait a minute, why are we talking about the afterlife when this life, here and now, demands our focus, our talent, our generosity of spirit?" Our theological history is rooted in liberal Christianity. That history always energizes me, knowing that I am part of a heretical tradition that emphasizes reason and experience over dogma. And I say, go heretics, because we need more heretics today. Now, there is a second part to this morning's wisdom story. Remember Hosea, who was curious and stopped playing with the mud when he was little? Well, he was a minister's son. And as he got older, he wondered how his church could believe that God would only let some into heaven, even if others had led good lives. He asked his father, but his father didn't really have an answer for him. So Hosea had to find his own. He read the Bible, he attended Universalist churches, he asked questions, and at the age of 19, he decided he believed in universal salvation. The idea that everyone everywhere would go to heaven. No need to get your ticket punched by any theological gatekeeper here on earth. Now, his father asked him how he could believe that God would let bad people go into heaven. And guess what he shared? He shared his memory of how, as a child, no matter how muddy he got, his father loved him unconditionally. And this is the basis of universalism today. knowing that we are welcome, the good side and the shadow side. And we celebrate this every time we sing that Rumi-inspired hymn, "Come, come, whoever you are." And we make a point to say, and we don't sing this phrase, but in the poem, it also says, "Though you've broken your vows 1,000 times, come, yet again come." So our Universalist ancestors questioned that salvation of a few and rejected the concept of hell. When they were still creedal, they embraced a God who loved and welcomed all without prerequisites. And that was very radical and heretical. Today, universalism is expressed by our aspiration because we are not perfect and sometimes we get it wrong. Our aspiration to radical welcome and unconditional love for all without an emphasis on creeds. It is a theology of universal love that grounds our covenants, the promises that we make to each other about how we will behave together, how we will be together. A love that calls us back into relationship when we inevitably get muddy and miss the mark. It is a theology of hands outstretched, not towards the heavens, but towards each other with compassion and love. And that's the Universalist side of the house. The Unitarian side of the house provides us a heritage that continues to embrace reason, critical thinking, and curiosity. We are invited to explore spirituality in the search for meaning, recognizing that there are many paths to truth and wisdom. And our sources are not just sacred texts, but also earth-centered and humanist teachings, the words and deeds of prophetic people, and our own direct experience with mystery and wonder. That openness is a form of theological generosity, a generosity that invites curiosity and reflection, a generosity that embraces the tension between the rational mind that can also understand the mysteries and the unknown, the mystical, the rational, the mystical, in tension sometimes. And what it does is it calls us to imagine how we can work together so the aspirational principles that we share become reality. So I remind you that if you look in your hymnal and you turn to the first hymn and go back one page, I invite you to do that. Open your hymnal, find hymn number 1, go back one page, and look at those principles. And look at those sources in the hymnal. Which of those principles inform your spiritual journey? And which of those sources inform your understanding of the sacred? Because those principles are not our theology. They are what we aspire to. They are what motivates us to have the moral imagination to think that together we can work for a better world. And those sources are what move us to find out what is it that grounds our souls and our spirits, not only when there's gratitude for the beauty that life offers us, but that grounds us when we deal with the harsh realities of the world. So how do these principles inform your life? How do these sources inform your life? And isn't it awesome that we are part of a faith that allows us to decide where we go within the boundaries of those aspirational principles? So our faith has promise. Our faith can strengthen community, bring healing, and contribute to a healthier public discourse. In this time when participation in Christianity is in decline, and the number of people who claim to be spiritual and not religious, the nuns, N-O-N-E-S, are on the rise, Unitarian Universalism can be a religious home for those seeking spiritual communities. However, we do not always share our good news. Why? Why do we not share it? UU theologian Paul Razor shared insights on this in his book, Proclaiming Prophetic Witness: Liberal Religion in the Public Square. And he writes that when we call leaders into account for injustice, or we go forth motivated towards working for collective liberation, we are often reluctant to speak out using religious language. And he offers these reasons. 1, lack of clarity on the theological grounding that informs our actions. 2, an aversion to being perceived as proselytizing, which is in tension with our commitment to religious pluralism and free religious inquiry. And 3, conflating the separation of church and state with, in his words, a kind of separation of religious ideas and political deliberation rooted in the belief that religious arguments do not belong in public discourse. And yet we know that public issues have moral implications. And diverse religious voices are important in enriching the public discussion. And this is more important today when conservative religious voices dominate the public square. And religious conservatives are in prominent leadership roles in our government. If religious liberals do not speak up, alternative religious perspectives will remain invisible. And yet, there needs to be discernment when we do this. And here's my example. I feel that it is ironic that as I am here before you exploring engagement in the public square grounded in our theologies and values, the Israel-Hamas war presents a challenge that is being lived out in our college campuses and in many communities, secular or religious. And I find the challenge that we are in a climate of like a forced choice, where we are being asked to take a vocal side, a visible side, in a conflict that is complex and holds the lived experiences and the histories of two peoples. Families and children are dying. Israeli and Palestinian families and children are dying. All their lives have worth and dignity. They deserve to live in peace. And we grieve that violence and intransigence that has been building up over years, and dehumanization of the other has culminated in such violence and cruelty. And I must admit, my understanding of the conflict, maybe I shouldn't be saying all this stuff. Oh my goodness. That makes it worse. Okay. Yeah, okay.
Woohoo, George!
Okay. Very fiery speech, I hear. We have to have a sense of humor. No, but seriously.
Can you go back like just a little bit?
Okay, so I think what I'm trying to share with you is that as I was writing this sermon, and I thought about this for a long time. You know, we have to kind of come up with titles in advance. And I was thinking about theological generosity and thinking about being present in the public square. And as I wrote my sermon, and I finished my sermon, and I looked at it, and I said, my goodness, right now, this conflict between Israel and Hamas is affecting everybody. You don't have to be Palestinian, you don't have to be Israeli to be affected by this loss of life, this disrespect for human life. And here I am saying, well, we need to be present, and our denomination has not, our association of churches, has not been vocal on taking a side. And that has become problematic. And I wondered, I'm like, why? And I think, honestly, it's because we are being asked to take a side. And as I wrote this, I thought, I don't know enough about the history. And there is a side, there's a history that the Palestinians tell, and there's a history that the Israelis tell, and there's a history of the culture and how our culture and the powers that be have handled these histories and these conflicts. And so it's hard to be asked as a minister, as a denomination, to take a side. Which lives matter more than other lives? We can't do that. Because I believe all of these families and children, Palestinian and Israeli, that are being killed, deserve to live in peace. And I am saddened by the dehumanization that has happened, that has led to this. And because I don't understand all that complexity, I think what is more important in this time than taking a side is being open, being witnesses to the complexity of this issue, and being able to listen to each other. I almost feel like it's a pastoral call to be present, to lament and grieve together. Because for me, there is no answer. I think creating a space for dialogue and demanding and understanding rather than demanding we take sides may help make sense of what is happening and perhaps help to identify the best path forward, even if it is only the least terrible path. And so as I thought about this, I realized that, we need to be visible in the public square, and we also need discernment, and we need to be informed before we just react because we feel pressure from beloveds that are affected by this in different ways. And we can be certain that easy answers will continue to elude us, and that there is work to be done. And there is a presence and a witness to be had. There is grieving and lamentation. But at this point, I don't feel, and that's just me, and I could be wrong, I don't feel that for me, just taking a side is what I'm called to do. And I invite each of us to think, what is it that we are called to do in this moment? What do we need to learn? Who do we need to speak with? How do we listen? And then decide, what am I called to do? How do I act? And I know that beyond ministers and congregations, there are many organizations that are moving forward, grounded in our values and commitments that make faith visible in the public square. We have the UU Justice Ministry of North Carolina that leads advocacy that arises from our core values. We have the Side with Love campaign that works to disrupt oppression. So there are organizations that are doing this work of being present in the public square, and there are opportunities to be involved. But my question this morning that I will close with is for us to consider how each of us can live into those values and share the good news of our faith. And the question, the Side with Love campaign, how many of you are familiar with the Side with Love campaign? Does anybody know what question they always ask on their website? If you go to their website, the question is, what is love calling you to do? What is love calling each of us to do as part of this faith community committed to co-creating a world where all can flourish? If this faith is life-affirming and enriching for us, are we willing to share it with others? Maybe that's what theological generosity is, to be theologically generous by sharing our faith, compassionately and without coercion, understanding that there are many paths to the sacred, and freely because we have been transformed by this faith. And we believe that a non-creedal covenantal faith can contribute to the collective liberation we aspire to. As I was talking with Jack before the service, he made a comment that I have also heard before, and it's that sometimes people that come to our faith late in life wish they had heard about Unitarian Universalism earlier, because they would have avoided so much religious trauma and hurt from our culture. And we can contribute to avoiding people saying that in the future by being theologically generous. So friends, may you go forth exploring what being theologically generous might mean to you. And know that it holds the possibility to connect us, to connect one another in relationships of interdependence and mutuality. Because what affects you affects me. What is happening in our world affects all of us. How can we bring more love into the world? That is our task, beloveds. May we go forth and bring love courageously and unapologetically to the world. Amen. May it be so. And so, not to be corny, our next song is about how we let our light shine. And we're going to sing it in English and in Spanish. And I'm going to go over the lyrics because we added a third verse that we haven't sung together before. So we're just going to do a quick review before we sing. And so the first verse is, and I'm just going to do a call and response, mi pequeñita luz, la dejaré brillar. Brillará, brillará, brillará. All right, you got that one. The next one, andando por doquier. La dejaré brillar. Brillará, brillará, brillará. And this is the new one. Yo la alzaré. En mi vecindad. Brillará, brillará, brillará. And we'll sing the English first before each verse so that you get the hang of the rhythm and can sing the Español. All right, let us rise in body or spirit and let us sing together.
And now I would like to invite any visitors here to stand up and introduce yourself if you're comfortable doing so. Let us know your name and where you're from. The ushers will be going around with mics, so just raise your hand.
Good morning. I'm Jennifer Armstrong, and I moved here in April. I'm living with my youngest daughter in Woodfin.
Welcome.
We have two more Jennifers. I'm Jennifer and Jenny. We're from Atlanta. We usually attend UUCA, but we always love coming here when we're visiting.
Welcome.
I'm Fred Morgan. I've been living in the area since 2003 and have been most of the time in Black Mountain. So I've been at the UU there and the Quakers there, and having moved into Gibbons Estates, I thought I'd check the place out. I've been in this building. This is one of my favorite buildings in town.
Welcome. Thank you for joining us. And join us at, do we have another one? Nope. I'm sorry, I thought I saw the mic go up. Join us in Sandberg Hall after the service for coffee and to find out more information about us. Our announcements run as slides at the beginning of the service. If you missed them, refer to Thursday's weekly e-news as everything is described there. If you don't receive the e-news, ask an usher to show you how to sign up. Our community plate partner this month is Beloved. You can contribute by writing community plate in the memo of your check. Please help us support both our congregation and our community partner. What we do matters a great deal. Today's offering will now be collected and gratefully received. If this is your first time here, let the collection plate pass you by. This service is our gift to you, and your presence is your gift to us. For the gifts of your faith and wisdom, attention and presence, time and resources, we are grateful.
Thank you, Steve. So this morning I had chalice extinguishing words. We don't need them. So, as we prepare to go forth this week, may we go forth in love, and may we go forth to be part of that change that we would like to see in the world. Let us bless each other as we sing by rising in body or spirit and singing this beautiful blessing, Long Time Son. Go in peace, friends. Jack, thank you.
Yeah. Apparently, I've heard too much whirling.
Huh?
Apparently, I've heard
Oh, is that?
I've never used a Charles like that.
It's been well, not like that, but it's been.
I saw it getting higher and higher, and I thought, that's a big one. And then I looked around.